Hey, everybody. Oh, whoops. Hang on a minute. That's more like it. Hey, everybody. How you doing? I'm Pabs, the right-scene VTuber and artist, and today we're going to be doing a quick warm-up here with the sketching, and then we're going to move on to learning a little bit more about music theory. So what you can see here is actually the file that I use for the different stream schedule arts that I've done basically ever. I should really back up this document at some point. But yeah, as you can see, I've got a lot of the ones from the past here. So what I was thinking is that as a kind of sketch warm up to kick off the stream that we normally do, what I might do is I might use this as a chance to do the schedule art and then move on to the main subject of the day. Actually, one thing that I wanted to do, it's bugging me that the September is so far out here. Let's be a little bit closer. I don't know, does that seem so claustrophobic? It's a little bit. It's a little far. Hang on. Or it's a little close, actually. There, that should be good. But yeah, if you've ever wanted a behind-the-scenes look at what goes into making the schedule, so the red folders here are like ideas for schedule art that I haven't made yet. I've got a few of them lined up. Not all of them are winners. Like there are ones where like I absolutely have to do this, but some of them are like I think this might be fun. Let's keep it under the hat just in case. But yeah, the one. Let's start with the one at the bottom. So that one is a redraw of artwork from Jujutsu Kaisen. So there's a scene where a character reveals that that the top of their head is detachable, and their brain looks a little bit messed up. The thing about Jujutsu Kaisen is that I know a lot about its spoilers for a guy who's basically never read the series. That's not true. I've read part of the series. I read it up to about the part where Toto was introduced and he started fighting with Yuji against that weird tree guy. But further than that, I have no idea basically. But yeah, the idea was to have human Pabs be the kind of big laughing face here. Or like the main body of the guy here. And then, Rice Pabs is going to be up here. I think it's a good thing that I don't use human Pabs very often. I feel like I don't want it to come to the point where human Pabs and Rice Pabs are interchangeable because I feel like that's going to take away a lot of the branding of human Pabs. Or I mean like Rice Pabs. I mean both, really. My big old fangs. I wonder if there's a way to make to have the fangs but not make them look vampiric. Because that's always kind of my concern when drawing human Pabs. Is like, is somebody's going to go, oh, well, that's a weird color scheme for a vampire to have, and it's like that's because I'm not a vampire. I do have very sharp fangs, but those are just because I like having those. If that makes sense. I do think that one cool thing about this character design is that they do have those like longer earlobes. I don't know. I feel like that's an underrated character design element. It's also going to be a little bit weird because the top part of this, the main difficulty here is that the top part of my face is usually covered with my hair. So I'm thinking that there's gonna have to be some kind of like weird doll kind of thing going on here. One time for a school project, we were making these little rag dolls for home economics class. And I was able to sew mine pretty well on my own. It went pretty smoothly because my mom taught me how to sew. But there was one part where I did basically just totally rely on her help. And that was at least I this is the part that I remember I relied on her the most. I probably asked for her help with a couple of other things, but the one that I relied on her for the most was the hair of the doll, because I'd never done doll hair, but she had like an idea for how to do it. And I had no idea how that shit worked, but she got it done, and to this day I still don't know how that happened. But like I said, it worked. Actually, that would be a good idea to reference. How does doll hair look? Doll hair follicle. Detail, maybe? Hang on. It's got to be around here somewhere. Doll hair care. Yeah, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Like, how does... Okay. Interesting. So at least for this one, right? It looks like they've done it by having different strands of hair, and then for each strand they just kind of sew that shit onto the doll. Okay, are there other theories as well? Hmm. Okay, this looks a little bit closer to what I want. Let's see if this website link is still active. Fast and easy way to make doll hair with yarn. This is precisely what I'm looking for. Okay, let's see. Okay, so carefully cut along the yarn folds on the end of each object. Using an erasable fabric marker. Somehow forgot you had a Splatoon stream open, as well as you thought you had some Splatoon music playing in the background. And also, hi, Pabs, good luck with art. Thanks, Adept. I mean, I could be in Splatoon. I was in Splatoon, actually. They had that Splatfest thing where one of the options was rice. So I'm in there by pure technicality. Okay, wait, hold up. What they suddenly whipped out the sewing machine, and now I'm all tripped up. Okay, the first section must be the length of the first mark you made on the center of your doll head plus 2 inches. You will want to sew your hair pieces really thick or heavily together. The second section will be the length of the second mark you made on the doll hair plus 1. Okay, this is some mathematical formula shit. Start with a long double strand of yarn. Okay. With a wide zigzag stitch over both strands about 1/2 an inch. Oh. Okay, I kind of understand. So, oh, that's how it's done. Do a simple chain stitch on top of the spine and all the way to the other side. Okay, so they basically replicate what's going on here. And what's more interesting is that this is almost like, well, obviously this is more advanced and it's made out of synthetic material, but it's all the same principle. You just somehow sew all these bits together to make to make something that you can sew onto the doll. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, with that said, that's actually really helpful because it does give me a good perspective on how this would look with the style. Okay, that's gonna go like this. Also, my neck is much thicker than this guy's. It's also much shorter, so I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to work with the logistics of that when I get to it. Let's actually bring this, hang on, just a screenshot on over to the reference here. But man, I learned, okay, so after stream was over the other day, right? I said that I would go look into what those like B flat or C flat notes were about after in like my own time after stream, because I couldn't seem to get a straight answer out of a cursory web search or out of the wikibooks article that I was looking at. And it turns out that it's so simple of a concept that I'm actually kind of mad about it. So B flat and or like, okay, so you know how in Reaper we saw that there was like, there was like A, then B, and in between here they had A sharp, right? So it turns out the whole thing of A sharp and B is like, it's kind of like a half step, or like so A sharp is just like one key to the right? It's like a slightly higher note. But then B flat would be also A sharp. So because apparently it just means that you're just like going like a half step lower, or a half step lower for flat and a half step higher for B. So A sharp is A sharp is B flat, exactly, Skillsies. And if to take it one step further, A sharp sharp would actually just be B. So back when they were saying like C flat, they just meant B sharp, or B, depending on like whether or not it has the key. That's all there is to it. It's that simple. And I don't know why it pissed me off so badly when I first learned about it, but it really did. I don't know, like, why do they have to be so complicated? Why couldn't they just say B? Why does a piano have a dedicated? And the thing too is that like there's no dedicated C like sharp keys for some of these, right? So like some of them have sharp, some of them don't. Why can't they have a dedicated flat key? Why can't they have like, if A sharp and B are the same thing, or maybe they're not the same thing? It's hard. May I just lack understanding at this point? That's also entirely possible, but it's been rather frustrating at this point. Hang on, I'm gonna add like sewing stitches to the side here. Gonna add maybe like a part stitch here on each side. I don't know. I think just the I don't know. Actually, I don't know what would be best for this. It's kind of hard to tell what it's supposed to be on like the picture here, unless I also kind of just make it like this. Hang on, that might actually work. Okay, there we go. But yeah, but the good news is that now I know what like they're talking about when they say like C, like this note flat or that other note flat. Okay, so I think before I draw all this business over here, I'm going to draw a tiny Pabs, or like normal Pabs in here. Okay, let's just copy and paste this a little bit further to the left. Maybe he's a little high up. Adding some thumbs would also help to make it clear that these are supposed to be like levers or some manner of, I don't know, clutch or gear shift. I'm hoping this ends up looking like what I want it to look like instead of like looking like half a hairy coconut, which is also entirely possible. What I could do is that I could try to angle the hair strands here so that they kind of curve inward at the bottom here. Boy, this is a lot harder when I can't actually show what my eyes look like. Okay, then over here, that's going to kind of go like this. And over here, that's going to kind of curve inward again. And I think the best thing to do here would be to make it so that there are slight curves on the inside of the dome part to make it obvious that it's kind of curving inward like that. What I really like about Jujutsu Kaisen's art style is that it does a lot without using what do you call half toning. Like almost all of this here, actually, yeah, no, almost all of it is using cross hatching. I think the main part that has half toning is the kind of highlights on the robes here. I don't know. I think that's really cool. Like sometimes you see art styles that have a lot of half toning, and it's just a little bit difficult to see what the hell's actually going on. Well, there are some styles that just also don't use half toning. Period. Like One Piece, for example, uses very, very, very little half toning, and sometimes I don't know what the hell's going on in there either. Or at least that's how it was when I was a kid. I had a hard time keeping up with some of the action scenes in One Piece back when I was a kid. Maybe that's gonna be changing if I started rereading it. with a mostly fully developed brain. What was that? What was that hoax theory? Like your brain finishes developing when you're like such and such age. I think they found out that one was a hoax, but it's it is at least compelling from a standpoint of enough people bought into it that you can kind of use it as a benchmark for when people were like, okay, yeah, this is kind of at the age where I fully realized my adult self. In that it wasn't exactly true, but it was a reference point for the rest of us, like where you're supposed to be at certain ages. And again, that's not going to be true for everybody, and it's not going to be valid for everybody, but it's better than having no guidance at all, right? At least that's what I feel. I don't know. Sometimes you get the feeling that your life ain't ever going to be together, and that's, well, I guess as long as you don't give up, that's fine too. You just have to keep working hard to try and make your life better, and that's really all we can do. Okay, I think we can get rid of the reference. Okay, the hair is looking actually pretty good, so I'm going to keep that. I'm going to remove this part here. I'm actually going to re-angle the wrist a little bit. My wrists are a little bit thinner at this end here. Or at least the way that I usually draw wrists. I think maybe keeping the hand where it is actually going to be very helpful, because I feel like my having little Pabs up there is a little bit more. I feel like it's easier to communicate it if he has a little bit more real estate to himself. Okay. And then I might just do a little bit of stylization with a thumb back here. For the palm here, I'm going to flatten it out a little bit, because it's a little bit easier to read as a palm if it's just like one solid block here. That's the thing as well. If I'm redrawing this panel, I can't take too many cues from it as well, because I'm working with one single line width that needs to communicate a lot. I have to be a little bit more economical with what I do. But that's part of the fun of it. I do have fun redrawing these. What I might do is I might also raise the shoulder here a little bit. Okay, then the last other thing I think we need to do is just add a filler for parts of this. We can also use that to round out parts of it here, like right here, for example. Yeah, no, having the hair direction there is also kind of useful. Although I might cheat just a tiny bit and make it so that their width is just a tiny bit lower. If it's in just small parts like this, then it's usually not really noticeable if I'm messing with the line width. And the end result is just a tiny bit better, so I usually don't see a problem with it. So yeah, these aren't, most of these are actually just in one single line width, but some of them do have a little bit of extra messing around with the line width, just a tiny bit. I might do it on the cross hatching in here too. Then just to make sure that it's kind of making a complete loop out here. There we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so we've done with a warm-up drawing here. Then the next part up is to open up Reaper. Okay. Reaper 7.22 is available with the following updates. Actions that scroll the affected track will view into view only scroll if the track is entirely... Man, what the hell? I don't even care about all that. There we go. Okay, so last we left off, we were doing the chord patterns that we were learning about earlier. So this one here was an example chord pattern, I think, from... We don't need to open that right now. Oh, hey, that's a stream. Okay, complete list of chord patterns. Right. So yeah, this last one that we were looking at was the was this one from this paragraph here. You may move across the degrees and interchange the chords or can skip degrees entirely if so desired. But here's a nice chord progression. Example, this one, this one, this one, this one. Okay. A good key to practice it in would be C, because there are no sharps or flats to remember, but you can do it in any major key. And that's the other thing too, is that with the exception of major, or at least C major, right? It's the only one that doesn't use or deploy any kind of... And I learned what these things are. They are called accidentals. Oh yeah, I reckon that the little parentheses here mean that the key is optional, maybe? I think that's what it means as well, because I remember reading in the original one about chords that the C seventh, I think it was. Yeah, this would be major seventh. So C major seventh would be... Yeah, here we go. Sixth chords. Characteristic is jazz. That's weird. But yeah, knowing the thing about A sharp and B flat, or, the sharps and flats as accidentals, also lets us understand a little bit better about this half diminished seventh part. Or rather, this footnote now makes sense to me a little bit more, now that I've taken a closer look at it. Having time to go back and read it outside of the heat of live streaming lets you recognize some things. So, for example, in this one, it has an asterisk that says, many people choose not to recognize half diminished seventh chords and prefer to call them minor seventh chords with a flat fifth. So what that means is that if you look at the minor seventh and you look at Samoa Joe, you can see that. Okay. If you look at the minor seventh, you can see that it goes 1, flat third chord, 5, flat seventh. And half diminished seventh is instead 1, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. So that's why the only difference here is a flat fifth, which is why it's prefer to call the minor seventh chords with a flat fifth. I think that's pedantic. I think that that doesn't roll off the tongue as easily as half diminished 7. So that's what we're going to go with. Okay, so our goal for today is just kind of go through these in the C key. So we're gonna start out with major here, right? Lydian is a new one. I didn't know that we had Lydian. Unless I wonder what this just intonated ratio means. Also, this scale/mode thing still means nothing to me. I'm just not gonna worry about it yet. Okay, yeah, no. I was wondering if the parentheses meant that it was flat, but no, there's a parentheses right here. There's a flat note right here, so they wouldn't use that and the parentheses in the same one. I don't think. That would be well and truly fucked up if there was like a sort of second secret unknown way to make a flat chord, and it just so involved to make a parentheses. I'm not sure why they have a parentheses there. Hang on, chord implication. Sometimes chords are not specifically indicated by notes, but are indicated by the chord structure, or even notes that don't form chords by themselves but sound like they belong to a certain chord. The most usual way to handle this is to put the chord name in parentheses. Implied chords are also often used when there are constant chord changes throughout a section, several per measure. And marking each one would make a little sense. So the underlying chord is chosen, usually a chord the others are temporarily centered around. Huh? But okay, I think I get it. So the parentheses here mean that the note in question can be there. We don't necessarily need it. I'm assuming that that's the same. It's the same thing because they were talking about implied chords and these are individual notes. I'm gonna assume that the parentheses mean that it's optional. Like it sounds like it's there if you don't put it there, but it's supposed to be there. It's like extra parts on IKEA furniture. Man, extra parts on IKEA furniture fuck me up just a tiny bit because I don't think that all of them have extra parts. So this is what was this first one? All major chords. I'm gonna take a quick drink of water. Oh yeah, now's about the time I would pause the ordinary background music and I would start up the desktop audio. Okay, so yeah, this is the one that we made last time with the chord progression. I also noticed that the chords were a tiny bit quiet last time, so I'm going to bump this up or maybe actually, hang on. I think I've got a master volume somewhere around here. I don't want to mess with the desktop audio. I mean, I guess I have to mess with it eventually. But yeah, let's check this one out. Hopefully that's pretty easy to hear. I think, do we still have Twinkle Twinkle Little Star up? Because I think that one was the one that made me go like, oh man, this is a little bit quiet. Right, okay, so that, if my voice is around here, right, I'm looking at the mixing and the what do you call the audio mixer. Still a little bit low. Little bit higher. Okay, I think that's about as responsibly high as we can get it. Me, when I'm talking about administering certain dosages of narcotics to lab rats to see if they understand how to the concept of how to party. All right. Anyway, we're going to hop into the MIDI, so let me change that real quick. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna just kind of control A all these suckers. And then we're going to open up the web browser again so that we can see which ones we're doing today. So the first one is the major triad. Or I guess it's just C major. C major? But I don't see the major doing anything. Okay, so we all know this one, right? The C major. We know how to do this one. So it starts with just C5, let's say. Why are you green? Why are you green? It sounds the exact same, but why are you green now? Anyway, okay, so from C5, okay, so it goes C, D, so the next one would be E, so we want to put it up here. And then 5 is, so this goes F, G, yeah, this would be 5. Hey, if I just copy and paste one, okay, yeah, that sounds familiar, but hang on, if we copy and paste one, right? So if we just copy this one and place it here, but then we paste it over and over, let's compare that to just a normal 1. So this is just with 1, and this is with 3 at a time. Okay, I can definitely see. Interesting, okay. It does stack. So the scary thing is that apparently they do stack if you just keep putting one over and over. And that's scary because if we put too many on one at once, I feel like it's going to do... Like, have you ever been playing Minecraft and you put way too many blocks of TNT? Like you're like 8 years old or some shit. You're like 9, and you're kind of bored. So you were like, hey, I wonder if you can put enough TNT to destroy the entire world. Because, you're bored and you're 9 and that's what you do. So you start putting down as much TNT as you possibly can in creative mode. You open up a new world. You call it like major explosion. You let the seed generate. You plonk down like 400 things of TNT. You spend like 15 minutes placing TNT. You make it a big pile. You put some out in the surrounding area. You try to diversify a little bit, and you set it off at once, and it kind of just crashes your computer. Same deal. That's kind of we're gonna like world dedicated to TNTing a single node, and that's not gonna be very nice to listen to. So that's why we're not gonna do that. That being said, the next major one is the major 7th, which we also are familiar with. We did that one last time, so that's the same thing, except instead of just having 3, we also have the next one up, which is, okay, so this is G goes A, the next one would be B. It sounds a little bit like... And I remember they mentioned that one's actually a little bit more dissonant than, say, a 6th. But the 6th is like all the way down here. So it's going to be a while before we can get to that one. There is a major 9th, though. So I'm very excited to see what that one's going to be like. I don't think did we cover that one? I don't think we covered that one. Okay, so the major ninth, I imagine is the exact same thing. You just go. So this one is B. You go up one to C, and then the next one, which is D, sounds like. So it's starting to sound a little bit dissonant. Like the dissonance is increasing as you go from like 3 to 4 to 5. Maybe we'll find ones that are a little bit more consonant. That's another thing too that I've noticed, that they refer to it as dissonance and consonance instead of dissonance and resonance. Because I don't know, maybe resonance is not the same thing as consonance. I don't know if that's like a meaningful. Hang on. Resonance versus consonance. Okay, let's see here. Consonance and dissonance. Okay, yep. Consonance, resonance, and dissonance. Subset. What the fuck? Okay. Oh god. The AI generated mandala is real. Is that AI generated actually? Okay, no, that's definitely AI generated. But yeah, very hard to look at. Okay, so that already kind of docks some points from this guy's credibility, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt for a minute. Okay, so consonance refers to the agreement or harmony between sounds or musical notes. Okay. Resonance, on the other hand, refers to the reinforcement or amplification of sound waves when an object or material vibrates at its natural frequency. When an external force matches the natural frequency of that object, it causes the object to vibrate more strongly, producing a louder sound. Oh. Okay, that's almost like the Minecraft exploding thing that I was talking about earlier. So stacking the same note over and over is resonance. Consonance is just making them sound harmonic, and then dissonance is the opposite of consonance. Okay. Interesting. I wonder if there's an opposite of resonance then. Like interference, I guess? But yeah, that's really interesting. I learned something new today. That's fun. But yeah, no, that actually makes total sense given what we know. Okay, back to making more chords. The chord lab. Okay, the next one up is the major 11th, which you can. What I appreciate now, actually, hang on, I appreciate now as well that the reason that some of these are like implied notes, I reckon, is because we're using a MIDI keyboard, which is a fun digital thing. Some people have to play these with their fingers and hands, which is why probably you can scrimp out on a couple of notes and still have it sound relatively the same. Like if you wanted to play a major 11th chord on a guitar, I imagine that that's a lot more difficult to do if you don't have 8 fingers, for example, on one hand. That's my guess as to why some of these can be implied. But we don't need to imply shit. We can say it with our whole chest. Okay, that goes E and then F. How's that sound like? Like I said, the more you climb, the higher you climb, the more it just sounds like a piano falling down. Which is probably why I haven't seen a whole lot of these. I still don't know what just intonated ratios mean, but I've kind of given up on those. We don't need to deal with all of that. Okay, so major 13th. Again, same dealio, except you've got the next one up. And I think that actually brings us back to C, right? Or no, it brings us to G. Or does it actually? So that's F sharp, G. No, it brings us up to A. Or wait, no. Yeah, no, this is F, so we'd want to go from G to A. Is that about right? So yeah, if we go from the beginning, it goes like this. Oh. And what's interesting is that it's like it's kind of like a little bit like the do re mi fa sol thing that we noted with the scale here, right? Like we notice that this one has. Hang on. That this one here was like. What the? Oh, I know why that happened. Hang on. Mi fa sol la ti. It's weird how both of these sound like they're going higher, but only this one's actually like going do re mi. If we go back to this one, for example. It sounds like do re mi, but instead of the person hitting a higher note, they're actually just like saying it with more and more anxiety. Also, wait, hang on. I have an idea. Hang on. Is there a way to like duplicate a source? Hang on. Because I have an idea. So I'm going to call this one Reaper 2. And what that one is going to be. Okay. So ideally, these two are going to be the exact same size. But we'll see if that actually is the case. Okay, so we're going to move this one down here. And that way, if I close this one, yeah, there we go. Now we can actually see both at any time. That's going to be nice. That was actually bugging me a little bit that we could only see one window at a time of Reaper. But no, we have the technology to do that, to improve our lives. All right, going back to the major nodes. Okay, so then we go 6th, 9th, and then the Lydian. Hitting the Liddy. Okay, so that's going to be 1 3 1 5 6 1 3 5 6. So that's going to be okay, so that's 5, then it goes B. Wouldn't it actually be like this? Is that correct? I feel like that's wrong. So wait, do we go back to C major, minor, diminished, C major 6th? So wait, that's just chord notation. Triad and inversion. 7th chords and more. Okay. Slightly less. Only the major 6th use. I feel like we had a 6th somewhere else though. Like, didn't we have? Is it this one? Wrong. Okay, so that's not what we're looking for. Huh? Okay, that's G. This should be the 7th, I think, unless this one here is the 6th, in which case it goes from G5, G sharp, A. And what do we have back here? Oh, this is already the 7th. That's why we're being thrown off. Yeah. Okay. What did I just do? Why are you more green now? Oh, so these relate. So hang on. So the color of these is based on how loud they are, not like it. I was so confused why they were all green. It's because I turned down their volume on them by accident. That's so weird. That's so complicated. Why do we need that? Well, whatever. Even if I don't understand it, I don't need to fully understand it to know what's going on. That's also something that I've realized about in general about this sort of learning is that I'm sure the reason that I need to do it like this on this level of granularity, right? Like I'm comparing it to how I learned about like biology, for example. We started with the structure of the cell, but like then we went to like major bodily processes, like for example, how does like circulation in your heart work? And you might think that the stuff in the stuff about your cells is like completely unrelated to your heart stuff, but then it is actually related to some degree. Like the cells are the building blocks for the heart, and the cells in the heart, the cells around the heart, and the cells that the heart delivers oxygen to, those are actually all necessary. Like the reason we need the circulatory system is because our cells need oxygen. And also just to mog people, just to mog any organism that doesn't have a circulatory system. Although actually, I'm pretty sure most organisms have a circulatory system of some kind, right? Like for example, plants don't have a beating heart, for example, but they still have some kind of circulatory system. But us humans, the greatest species in the world. Well, actually, no. I guess I'm technically not human, but I think I have a heart. I hope I do. That should better be in there. That's gonna be such a bummer because I've been trying to focus more on my cardio recently, and if I don't actually have a heart to work out, that's gonna be like a major bummer for me. Anyway, we're actually talking about chords right now. So if we could take a look at, okay, so this part here we're done with. The part that we want to look at is right here. Okay, so the 6th and 9th. Abbreviations, 69. Nice. Okay, so that's going to go exact same, except we go for the 9th, which is really weird, considering that our whole thing so far has been, because we go and skips 1, skips none, and then suddenly we're going all the way up to 9. So that's gonna be okay. So we're on A, so that's gonna go 7th, 8th, 9th. So this, we want a D. What does that sound like? It's kind of a weird, I don't know, it's weird to me, right? I don't know what that's supposed to be like, really. Like the 6th sounds very, very warm and resonant. The 7th sounds, okay, we need to have a little bit more space between these, I think. Let's give him like 2 beats. Me when I'm a tyrant and I'm assigning the different rations to the different communities. Oh god. Okay, let's just keep not selecting these. That was a really scary noise that made just now. Okay, is that a little bit easier to navigate? What the get out of here. Oh shoot, I forgot to close the web browser. There we go. I added a little bit more space between these so we could listen to them a little bit more closely. Okay, so my button pressing reaction time is not fast. Why is the web browser still open? Okay, yeah, I don't understand. I can't appreciate the meaningful difference between those two just yet, I think. Skill issue, perhaps. Okay, now show me the web browser again. Okay, so we did 69. Now we have to try the Lydian. So that's gonna be very exciting because wait, what do they call? Hang on. Okay, so major 7th is the one that uses a little delta symbol. So major sharp 4. Is that because like where does the sharp of the 4 come from? Is my question on this one. Because what's up with the comma too? Is that like the implied note? Is that what that means? Because like from 7 to 11, that's a pretty big jump. Oh well. Okay, so that's going to be the 7th plus the 11th sharp. Okay, so 11th sharp. I wish there was an easier way to figure out this whole thing. So that's going to be... Okay, so we know this is the 7th. So then it goes C 8th, D 9th, E 5th, E 10th, F 11th. And then they want us to do the 11th sharp, so it's going to be this one. That's a really weird... That just sounds weird to me. Although they say that we can also optionally have the 13th and 9th in there. So let's see what happens when we do that. Wait. Okay, so it goes major 7th, major 9th, major 11th, wait, no. Major 13th. Oh, that's why. Okay, so this is exactly what it's supposed to be. So what does that sound like? Oh god, that's... All of these are so dissonant. It's a little... I don't know. Let's do a quick experiment. Let's see what it sounds like with the 13th, without the 11th, without the 13th. Because we kind of know what it sounds like with neither of them already. Okay, so without the 13th. Oh god, that's still really harsh. What about without the 11th? That's a little better. That's a little better, honestly, because you don't get the same harshness as with like just a double 11th. I don't know, it feels like that one's really hyping up the 11th for some reason. That's interesting, though. I still don't understand when you would use it, but I guess I still don't know what's going on with that regard, so I don't need to worry about it too much just yet. There might come a day where I need to use the Lydian. Hit the Liddy, as the children say. Oh god. What is the semicolon? What the fuck do you mean semicolon? The same shit. Why do they have this in parentheses and with a comma? We don't know what commas do yet. That one's still a mystery. The name is also kind of pissing me off too. Major 7th flat 6 or 13th flat. So wait, is it? it is like the major 13th, but you don't have the 11th in there, and also the 13th is flat, obviously. The scale is for harmonic major. I don't know, maybe I'm just not supposed to understand this yet. But yeah, no, we just need to go grab a third one and then add flat 13. Okay, put that down over here. And then flat 13th. Okay, so it's going to be... Okay, so this is 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. And then we have 13th flat. Let's see what that sounds like from the beginning. It doesn't sound that bad when they're followed up with the other chords, but just by themselves, they're a little bit... They just keep going higher. A little bit troubling. I'm going to take a sip of water. Okay, then the next one up. Okay, so we've run through all the major chords. Now what we've got cooking is the dominant /7th. The dominant 7th is sometimes just called a 7th, even though it contains a minor 7th and not a major 7th. It feels like they're fucking with us a little bit, if I may be honest. Okay, so dominant 7th, dominant 9th, dominant 11th. What it says about... Okay, altered and suspended. What's that about? Any chord with a major third can have the third replaced by a major second or perfect fourth. Any chord with a major third can have a third replaced by a major second or a perfect fourth to form a suspended chord. Okay. I wonder what the... I'm getting lost a little bit in the weeds here. I don't know. I should just not think and try and do it. But let's see. Let's try and read this a little bit. Okay. Any chord with a major third can have a third replaced by a major second or perfect fourth to form a suspended chord. Okay, so that's... Okay, I see what they mean. So the major third, they're just talking about the 3 here. That's why the suspended fourth and suspended second look like that. And that's what the sus means. The sus is about suspended. I was gonna ask what that was about because there was a sus chord here. I distinctly remember seeing like in the notes or the chord. Oh shoot, were we supposed to do these in order? What is music? Music can be many things. What constitutes music has been long debated and argued. Okay, music usually has 5 basic rhythm aspects: rhythm, melody, harmony, dynamics, and timbre. Although the definition presented above may be valid to some, let's not forget the highly subjective nature of music. That which is music to some is noise to others. Although we have many definitions, all definitions have their critics. Here's another definition of music that may be totally valid. Music is a set of organized sounds created to form a human entity or human-created machinery. Getting a little bit into perspective there, but that's not really what we're here for either. How to read music. This one isn't really as relevant to us because we're not trying to learn. Hang on. This is a really funny sentence. This wikibook here is here to give the reader an idea of how to read music. However, this is not to say this book will teach you to read music correctly. Neither will it teach you to play a musical instrument. Most music-related subjects really ought to be studied under a teacher. If you do not want to hire a teacher, then this should give you a general idea of how to read music. They really said, get your bum ass a teacher. Well, the whole thing is that I want to be self-taught to some extent. Not because I don't think I wouldn't benefit from a teacher. I would almost certainly benefit from a teacher trying to teach me things, but I feel like at the same time, well, first of all, that's a little bit expensive. And also, like, if I hired a teacher to teach me music, I feel like then the teacher would also have to consent to being on stream, because the whole thing was that I was doing this on stream. I don't know, that might be a fun idea, just having a you know how like there was that one Manga Academy comic made by Toriyama that basically had him teaching a rando that he made up how to draw comics. That might be a fun idea if like you have a buddy of yours who is kind of an expert at a subject and you want to learn. But even then, that adding a whole other human to the equation makes it actually quite a bit difficult to organize as a whole thing. For my purposes, trying to be self-taught is the best that I can do right now. Treble clef and a bass clef. The clefs determine what pitch the note should fall on. For instance, the treble clef is a G clef. So wherever the clef ends on the note G, wherever the clef ends on is the note G. Wait. No, hang on. The staff is what every other symbol of musical rotation is written on. It consists of 5 lines and 4 spaces that are used to identify which note is meant to be played on which clef is shown at the beginning of the staff. When the note is too high or too low to be written on one of the lines, such as middle C, the smaller lines must be written above or below the staff, called ledger lines. That is fucked. Tell me more about middle C. Middle C, the fourth C key from the left on a standard 88 key. The fourth C key from the left is designated C4 in scientific pitch notation. Okay, that one helps us, because then, okay, so if we go to the MIDI roll, and then we go to, say, G5, right? So then C4 would be over here. Okay, so I think the thing about so if we go back to the treble clef that we were looking at earlier, the middle C on the staff. So if we're assuming that this is a G clef with, and I can actually kind of see the G on here. If we look at the G clef here, the middle line, right, or like the clefs determine what pitch the note should fall on. For instance, the treble clef is a G clef, so wherever the clef ends on is the note G. So I think that means that this top part here should be G. In the case of the treble clef, it is the second line up from the bottom. The end of the clef wraps around the line. Oh, what? The end of the clef wraps around the line. So that would be here. Hang on, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? An alto clef. I've never seen a more messed up looking thing in my entire life. You told me that they said the 2 most commonly used ones. They didn't say that they were the only ones. You know, that's on me. That's my fault, G. I was not familiar with your game. For the treble clef, a common mnemonic used to remember which notes correspond to each position would be every good boy does fine. For the notes on the lines, from bottom to top, and face for notes in the space between the line, from bottom to top. Okay, so that's E, G, B, D, F. I think E, G, B, D, F. I guess I could also just check out. It's hard to get invested in this too much, given the fact that I'm not going to be using it for the most part. Let's avoid kind of falling into the weeds too much. What do the purple books mean? Hang on. You're fucking with me, right? Okay, so some of these are 25% developed, 50% developed, 0% developed. What do you mean 0% developed? Okay, so 50% developed. Scales and intervals is 75%, it looks like. Oh, yeah. So, for example, I was looking through the modern styles earlier, right? And when I hear 0% developed, this is kind of what I'm expecting to see, just a stub. It's music theory ska. Ska is a form of Jamaican music combining elements of traditional mento and calypso with American jazz and rhythm and blues sound. It is notable for its shuffling, scratch-like tempo, and jazz-like horn riffs on the offbeat. Ska general plays on the upbeat, with a rest on the downbeat. It's just kind of hilarious. We have to appreciate that whoever wrote these is doing so out of the goodness of their heart and in their free time. They're not paid for this. I can't wait to see how traditional and folk style pages for Chinese. You know what? Let's take a quick look there. Chinese music, unlike Western music, uses a 5-stone scale known as the pentatonic scale. The easiest way to see this on a piano is to play the black keys only. The scale will sound oriental. I don't think you're allowed to use that word anymore. This, however, is an oversimplification, as in many Chinese instruments, a Western diatonic scale is achievable, and 7-note scales are frequently used. Also, the music of ethnic minorities in China is often closely related to that of their neighbors, and microtonal adjustments of the pitch are also used. The Chinese pentatonic, the most commonly used scale, is usually D. The notes are as follows: D, E, F sharp, A, B, D. Contrary to much of Western music, traditional Chinese music music based on the pentatonic scale does not emphasize the tonal center as much. As such, listeners can often interpret pieces as essentially bitonal, focusing on 2 tonal centers simultaneous, not simultaneously simultaneous. A Western analysis will interpret these keys as having a relative major or minor relationship. Huh, okay. Composing. Necessary tools. One of the wonderful aspects of composing music is that you can use as few or as many tools as you want and need. The minimum you'll probably need is some way of storing the music you write, and some way of listening to the music you write. Some notes you sing to yourself written on line paper, which works wonderfully if you have a good ear for pitch. It'll cost you the price of pencil, a few sheets of paper, and a couple of erasers. However, if you'd like to invest thousands of dollars in a complex MIDI-enabled computer, keyboard, drum set equipped, high-fidelity sound environment, well, you can do that too. Just don't expect to finish setting that up for a few weeks. Light work of a few hours for a guy like me. Rule of thumb is, the more complicated you want your composition environment to be, the longer it'll take for you to actually start writing music. I mean, that's true. Getting Reaper set up didn't take that much time at all, but it still took a little longer than whipping out some pen and paper. Software needed. If you don't want to use a computer for your composing, skip to the next chapter. Groovy. For this tutorial, you will need notation software, aka a note editor. A good point to start is free and open source Muse Score, which works on GNU and Linux, Macs and Windows, and has a built-in synthesizer, eliminating the need for setting up MIDI. I probably should have, if you don't want to sink the $60 that Reaper costs, for like a personal license, you could probably go for that. There are also several alternatives for Linux. For Windows, Kodak Technology offers Finale Notepad as a downloadable $10 version of their commercial Finale notation software. Alternatives include Lilypod, Music's Text, and various ABC notation programs. There's a free music workstation called Frinica that features piano roll, score, and tracker interface as well. It is open source and written in Java. You can run it without installation through a Java web start. If you are using Windows but don't want to pay money, try downloading Ubuntu. If you don't want to put it as a permanent operating system, you can use VMware to make a virtual PC. That sounds really fucking complicated. It's probably not that complicated. In fact, I reckon that running a virtual machine from your computer is probably the easiest it's ever been. I remember back in high school, we were at one of those nice schools that like made you get a MacBook for your academic studies. That sucks, by the way. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Mainly because MacBooks are simple enough to use, but they are also just very limited in the number of programs they can run. Like nowadays, I don't need to worry whether my operating system can run a program unless it's a fucking Linux only program. But back then, I was like tiptoeing around my Steam library because I knew that if I, like, for example, if you're a gamer, right? Whether or not you identify as a gamer, if you play video games on your computer, you actually have a very limited amount of options if you choose to get a MacBook, because then you need to just make sure that the software in question runs on your MacBook, and there's no guarantee that that actually happens. Particularly since for some of the higher end stuff, you can't like add more graphical fidelity to a MacBook. There's no option for you to upgrade your MacBook, right? If you want to do that, unlike a CPU that you can build yourself, or like even like a store bought CPU. You know, that usually comes with some ability for you to upgrade to some extent, from what I understand, but not a MacBook. In any case, what I'm trying to say is that back in high school, I knew some dudes that tried to run a virtual machine off a virtual Windows machine off of their MacBooks, just so that they could fuck around in like GTA or some shit in between classes. I wonder how those guys are doing. They're probably doing well for themselves. It's difficult to make a living in this world, but it's not impossible. They should be fine. For this tutorial, we'll be using NodeEdit. To download it on Ubuntu, go to application. Why are you assuming that we're going on Ubuntu? Go to application, add or remove. From there, make sure your third-party programs are enabled. Then do the search for NodeEdit and check it and press OK. If you aren't hearing any sound, download Easy Ubuntu. Make sure you check MIDI! Then type this into the terminal. This command only needs to be typed in once, but it will have to be redone every time you restart Ubuntu. That sounds like a hassle. Why would you do that? I don't know. Like for Linux, I kind of understand it because you are the one kind of in control of everything. I understand it to that extent. But then there's like the thing of, you know, Ubuntu. I don't know. For some of these operating systems, it does feel a little bit like you're just downloading the operating system for the sake of having a operating system that isn't Windows, which I can also understand. I mean, I'm a Firefox guy. I download that just so I wouldn't have to have Chrome. And, you know, it's not like Firefox is a niche web browser by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly not fucking Chrome. In any case. Also, the let's count them here. The triple exclamation point, make sure you check MIDI here, is doing a lot. The all caps lock. You don't see all caps lock in a lot of Wikipedia articles. It's very unusual. Although I guess this is a wikibook and it's not technically a Wikipedia article. The triple exclamation mark is crazy. I remember there was a Terry Pratchett code that was like 5 exclamation marks, a sure sign of an insane mind. Some of these don't even have anything written in them. What about counterpoint? Fuge. A fuge is sometimes considered to be the goal of control. Contrapuntal study. Contrapuntal study. Its definition may vary depending upon the person asked, but this book will consider 3 definitions. A formal compositional structure consisting of a fugal exposition of a subject, a development with one or more middle entries, and a recapitulation. A compositional device for the elaboration and development of a single or multiple musical ideas. A texture within a larger compositional structure or form which utilizes fugal devices or forms part of a formal fugal. A wikibookian has nominated this page for cleanup because this part of the counterpoint module should be modified or shuffled around to fit into the larger categories I've created. Or it should be erased. Hopefully it can just be sliced up and put into proper categories. Cheers! AJ, 452, 30th of May, 2007. 2007! Universal Standard Time. AJ, buddy, are you still active? Is AJ still... User Aaronjgardner, are you still active, Aaron? Is Aaron in the room with us right now? This page was last edited on 3rd July 2009 at 5:11. We don't know what this guy could be up to. Okay. User talk. Huh. So this guy kind of fell off about 2 years after he made this note, from what I understand, given that it was last edited 3rd of July 2009. This page is still the same, but Aaron is gone. I think that's kind of like a testament to the enduring spirit of a half-assed job. I don't think this is actually half-assed. Apparently, it's fine. He's not actually criticizing the structure of it itself. He's just saying that it might be more useful if these notes are just added to other articles. Which I don't disagree with at all. I don't understand what the fuck these are saying. So for all I know, it would be the right move. What's plainsong? Plainsong is a form of music that originated in Christian churches early in the church's history. Christians wanted to praise God in a special way, and so chose to sing the entire liturgy when they held services. Okay. At first, with archaic and variant practices, such early plainsong was linked to specific communities and based on folk melody. However, as specific forms of liturgies were cemented, particularly the liturgy of St. John Chrysostom, the liturgy of St. Basil, and the liturgy of Pope Gregory I, the Mass, plainsong grew to be a formalized and integral part of Christian worship. Huh. I'm going to drink some water again. I don't know if it's because I've stopped streaming as much. I find that my voice gets a lot more tired more easily these days when I stream. I don't know what it is about specifically. Maybe it's the nerves. I don't know why. My throat gets very dry whenever I'm doing these streams. Like yesterday, I was on Pearl's stream for her 24-hour marathon of Scooby-Doo games, which was hilarious. I recommend that you check out Pearl's channel and go say hi to Pearl and follow her and give her money. However, did not feel like the same tiredness in my throat as I do just like talking to myself. I mean that is why, because I had other people, we could just like watch the gameplay, or we had other people chime in. V was there for a while too. She definitely pulled her share of the yapping weight for the conversation. V is low key a legendary yapper, but maybe it's just because it's just me talking. I am also reading out entire paragraphs. So that's maybe why I'm getting bodied the way that I am. I don't know why I was out here to begin with, actually. I think it started with me just realizing that I might not be reading this in the exact order that I should be. I mean, I'm currently on... Well, no, where even is this, actually? Complete theory. Okay, hang on. Fundamentals, dominant, counterpoint, complete list of chord patterns. Okay, so we're already at the. We've jumped from between like the basics, which was chords, and then we fucking leaped all the way past harmony, which, to be fair, is at 0% for all of these, even the ones that do actually have pages. From tones, overtones, and harmonics to beyond the basics. Actually, come to think of it, isn't literally everything that's not in the basics? Excuse me. Isn't everything that's beyond the basics literally just what's not in the basics? I don't know. I feel like that's very much does a set of all sets contain itself kind of conundrum. Let's just take a quick peep, right? Like, it's not going to hurt if we take a quick peep in these, right? Okay, this might be a fun little like Wikipedia dive stream where I just yap it a little while. Music theory, musical notational systems. There are many ways to describe musical notes, including solfege, solfege, soul bad guy, letters, numbers, tablature, and of course the standard music staffs. It is important to have a working knowledge of all of these, except tablature, as it is instrument-specific and many instruments do not use it at all. Fuck you, tablature, I guess. Letter names give a label to each letter of the C major scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Notes can be sharpened or flattened. Between D and E comes a note called either D sharp or E flat. Even more confusingly, E can be called D double sharp and E can be called E double flat. Okay. I definitely wasn't supposed to start with the chords. This would have saved me so much trouble like a week ago. But the thing is too, because I learned stuff about chords first, and then I went out to learn about E flat and D sharp and D sharp and whatnot individually. I feel like I actually have a better understanding of this material now than if I had just like fucking dove, end of God of War style Aerosmith playing in the background, dove into this article here. So like now I can appreciate what they're talking about here. For now, you only need to know that D sharp and E flat are enharmonically equivalent. That is, they have the same pitch but serve a different diatonic function. Okay. See, I also appreciate that now, because earlier I was talking like, why can't there just be the D flat key or what have you? So they have the same pitch, but they serve a different diatonic function. It's kind of like how if you're doing an Excel sheet, if you type out the number 3, and in the next cell you do equals 2 plus 1, both of them are for all intents and purposes 3. But if you do some other formulas that use those, then you can actually fuck around with them a little bit. I see. In the simplified tuning most commonly used today, you will learn about a diatonic function later. I can live with that. These are the letter names used in English, Dutch, and possibly a few other languages. Germany, Scandinavia, and Slavic countries have another system. Their C major scale is C, D, E, F, G, H. Their H corresponds to RB. They also use the letter B to mean the note that we call B flat. I hate this. That sucks! What do you mean? They do not use special letters for any other notes. However, for instance, what we call a C sharp, they would call cis, or cis, depending on the language. So these are the treacherous cis that my friends keep talking about, which literally means C sharp. We do not concern ourselves with these differences, as this alternate system is almost never encountered in English language texts. Some other countries don't use letters for notes at all, but instead the fixed do solfege system, where do or ut always mean the note C. This is an inflexible system, unlike the movable do one used in English, where do or do can be any pitch. So the do in question is the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. I see. I feel like the more I know, the dumber I'm getting. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like this feels like when you find a anime or a series or something, but you don't actually want to watch it. You just want to learn more about its universe. So you kind of like go on the fandom wikia, or you just go on the TV tropes page for it, and you start looking at the different like quotes and notes and different in points of interest for the series without actually ever reading it at all. So you end up having this kind of weirdly complete. Maybe complete is not the right word, but this like functional knowledge of the series while not actually having experienced it in any meaningful way. It feels a little bit like that. Like your some knowledge of the world has increased, but like the actual amount you know is like weirdly hollow. It's like having like an all carbohydrate meal. Like it feels great to eat. It feels great to chow down on to some extent, but like it's not gonna like keep you filled for very long. It's been a while since I've had an all carbohydrate meal myself. Honestly, I have gotten better at sneaking in a little protein or a vegetable in there. A little bit of furikake can also help. If you're just eating a bowl of rice and you add some furikake to it, solid like that a little bit of furikake can really like turn a meal around. I mean, all I need to say on that matter is that if you are eating a plain bowl of rice, you might be feeling a little miserable. If you add a little bit of furikake, you're not necessarily going to be feel less miserable, but you're definitely going to feel less miserable than if you were eating a plain bowl of rice. So let's talk about this solfege. Or actually, hang on. Let's look up how to pronounce soul bad guy here. Okay. Solfege. What is it and how it's used? Solfege definition. Okay, here we go.
Solfege.
Solfege. Okay. The application of the sol fa syllables to a musical scale or to a melody. You're fucking with me. You're fucking with me. I can feel that you're fucking with me. What is pilfer? Oh, is this what they're trying to make Wordle into? I'm gonna skip the instructions because I'm a. Let's go extreme difficulty. Fuck it, why not? MLS Lemmings. Okay. Huh? Oh wow, I was not ready for this. Okay, I see. Swell? Fuck you. UVL. Love should not count. Love should not count. What the fuck are you talking about? Value. AIW. Not a playable word. Fuck you. Ah! This robot is mugging the shit out of me. Alright, you know what? Let's not. But yeah, solfege. At least I think that's what it was. Okay, hang on.
Solfege.
Solfege. Okay. But yeah, solfege just means that there's a sol fa syllables to a musical scale. Solfege is one of the most common ways of expressing musical notes for vocalists. In fact, some countries such as Spain, Portugal, Italy, and France, solfege is almost always used instead of note names. The major scale in solfege runs do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Note: in some regions, such as Portugal, ti is called si. After ti comes do again. one octave higher than the previous do. Notes outside the scale, sharps and flats, are expressed in different ways according to regions. In some, equivalent to sharp or flat. In some, the equivalent to flat or sharp is added after the name of the note. So C sharp would be do dièse in France and Belgium. In other regions, another syllable with the same initial letter is used, although this is mostly reserved for instructional uses. For example, the pitch between re and mi can be either re or me. Sorry, I spaced out. What do you mean? In other regions, another syllable with the same initial letter is used. Okay, so for example, if you could just as easily do do re mi as do re me. Do re me, da na da na da na da na do re me. Okay, I see that. That makes sense too, because like in general, you're just looking for the right pitch. So the actual contents of the words itself are like secondary. The proper syllable to be used is based on whether you are traveling up or down the scale. The first letter of the syllable should come from the previous note, while the second letter is inherited from the next note of the sequence. Huh? Okay, do, re, mi, fa, sol. The proper syllable to use is based on whether you are traveling up or down the scale. The first letter of the syllable should come from the previous note. Huh. Do, re, mi, fa, sol. Sol, fol, ma, re, de. That doesn't sound right. I think I've misinterpreted this section. Most commonly, the chromatic ascending scale is do, di. Oh, wait, no, here we go. Do, di, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, fi, sol, si, la, li. It's all this stuff here. And the descending scale is all yada, yada, yada. In India, solfege is called saragam, and the scale runs saregama pada ni. The movable do system is the one most commonly used, where do becomes the tonic of the key. Fixed do is also used at some major colleges and university, where do is always C no matter what the key is. This involves a lot more use of chromatic solfege. This book will not use solfege. More information can be obtained in Wikipedia's treatment of the subject. The material should be learned and practiced, but it is useful mostly in communicating with other musicians who use the system. If I communicate with other musicians, I think they might try to kill me, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. No, that's not true. They wouldn't kill me. I'm being unnecessarily negative, but it does sound pretty funny. It's not that they'll kill me, it's that I will be in their aura and it will crush me like an ant. That is kind of the situation we're at. Okay. So the cool thing is that so now that we've understood all this, they actually say that we're not actually using all that. That's not actually relevant to our study. So that's awesome. But that makes sense too, because we're actually just using note notation rather than solfege. So solfege is just we have do as the basis, and then we, instead of saying go for B sharp, you would say re mi. Numbers. Numbers are useful in lieu of solfege to describe relative tones. Either Roman numerals or Arabic numerals can be used. A major scale would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Each number can be pronounced like the cardinal number or an ordinary ordinal number, first, second, and third. Oh, that's what it's called? An ordinal number? That's neat. These can be sharpened and flattened, but the sharp is usually written before the numeral. And that's where it goes augmented and minor. Interesting. And that's useful too to know, because in this one here, for example, if we go back to the complete list of chords, we actually see that they do talk about they do use those numerals too. But unlike in that one, they actually do also have sharps instead of doing them in lowercase. That's funny. That's funny that it's so confusing. I'm not angry. I'm not angry whatsoever. Latin names. Latin names follow the same principle as solfeggi, scale, and numerals. The notes are called a tonic, supertonic, mediant, subdominant, dominant, submediant, and leading tone. Of these, it's most often important to remember the tonic, subdominant, and dominant, because the tones and chords built on these tones are used most often. And that makes no sense, actually. Hang on. Or does it? No, actually, I don't know. Tablature is a notation specific to an instrument or class of instruments, usually plucked strings instruments such as guitar or aerophones like the harmonica. It is mostly used in popular music for guitar and bass because many players of these instruments do not read standard notation, and the notation does not help illustrate fingerings. For instance, the middle C can be played on several different strings on the guitar, but they all look the same in standard notation. However, tablature usually lacks information on a rhythm. Instead, tablature notation assumes that the reader is familiar with a tune or can hear its demonstration on a recording or other source. For these reasons, much professional guitar music includes standard notation along with tablature, with a tab staff running below the standard staff. Tablature is also common on the internet, often in ASCII form, but also in files that can be read by programs such as Guitar Pro or their Power Tab editor. The latter is freeware. Tablatures are not useful for the purposes of explaining music theory, because they describe how to play an instrument. That is, the mechanics of producing musical sounds, but not the underlying ideas. That is, the expression of certain pitches in a logical rhythm structure. Okay. I understand. So tablature, that's what guitar tabs and like ukulele tabs are about. I see. Or bass tabs. Standard notation. Standard music notation will probably have its own chapter, in which case only a cursory introduction will remain here. Standard notation is used to demonstrate how a piece is played. Unlike tablature, it applies to any instrument. It indicates key signatures, time signatures, rhythms, tempo, dynamics, and so on. A highly trained musician can sometimes take a piece of sheet music written in standard notation, look it over once or twice, and then play the song as though he or she had been playing it his or her whole life. That's terrifying. For instance, below is a C major scale, including a C at the end in standard notation. The standard notation staff has 5 lines and 4 spaces. From bottom to top, the 5 lines are E, G, B, D, F, which is commonly memorized as an acrostic, such as every good boy does fine. Is that not... Why do you call it an acrostic? Isn't that also a mnemonic? The 4 spaces between the 5 lines are F, A, C, and E, which should surely be easy enough for an English speaker to remember, because together they spell face. But what about the first 2 notes, which are below the staff? Well, the second note is just below the E, so it must be D. The first is below that, so it must be C. It also has a line through it to indicate that it is placed on an invisible line. This is called a ledger line. A note could be placed below this ledger line, which would be B. Or a note could be placed below that, onto another ledger line, and it would be A. Notes can continue to be placed on ledger lines above and below the staff infinitely, but extending too far from the staff is impractical because the pitches will become very hard to read. Yeah, man. I agree with that. Okay, so let's take another look at this. From bottom to top, the 5 lines are E, G, B, and F. What do these 2 like little red lines mean? Lead sheet notation. It's an abbreviated variant of standard notation used in jazz and popular music. It consists of a single note melody line on a treble staff and letter chord symbols. For vocal pieces, the lyrics are optional. Standard notation specifies every note exactly as it is to be played. Notation programs such as MuseScore, Sibelius, I'll get to you later, and Finale can place standard notation. Lead sheet notation allows, in fact requires, the player to interpret and embellish. A fake book is a collection of lead sheets. What kind of thieves guild ass shit is this? A fake book. Alright. Oh, so yeah, the reason I said that we'll get to Sibelius is because I am very fond of, I hesitate to call it a video essay, more like a review, more like a treatise on the program Sibelius. Before I understood anything about music theory, I watched a 40-minute video about the program Sibelius, and it's probably still one of the top recommended results. Actually, let me pull up YouTube and see if it's still one of the top results. It would be really funny if it was, because I'm a little bit of a hater by association for that program now. Okay, I think it might be biased by my own algorithm, but yeah, you can see here that if you look up Sibelius, the very first hit is the video. What video that I'm talking about? The Awful Design of Sibelius. It is not 40 minutes, as I previously thought. It feels like 40 minutes because of the kind of Lynchian structure of the video itself. But it is made by Tantacruel, and it is a fabulous video. I highly recommend watching it, especially if you like longer format videos about the gripes that somebody can have with a program. Really, really solid video. I highly recommend it. That being said, okay, so we've gotten a little bit of an appreciation for different musical styles that we will not be using. Wait. Did we just spend 20 minutes just reading stuff that we're not really going to use? Whoops. Oh well. But yeah, it looks like we'll mostly be using not numbers, we'll be using letters and the relative placement from them for our purposes. I wanted to check out the scale of C major again quickly because I got the Roman numeral thing mixed up with the notation for chords. So it is not in fact the same. So for example, if you wanted to go off of the scale of C major, if you had the large scale 2, right? Or wait, no. In the key of C. Okay, so you go key and then the chord notation. All right, neat. Okay, so we've finished this page. Next, we're going to talk about rhythm. Rhythm is, aside from melody, one of the most basic aspects of music, and definitely the fundamental. Is there movement to music? Fighting games has ruined my brain, man. I can no longer look at the word fundamental without immediately linking it or associating it in my mind to schmovement. Many early forms of music consisted only of rhythm, examples being drumming, clapping, and shouting to a rhythm. Basic durations. There are two systems for naming notes in the English language. Here, the American names are listed first, and the European names are listed in parentheses. This book, for consistency's sake, will use the American names throughout. Insert eagle screech wave here. The whole note is the longest unit we will consider in this book. Earlier music featured the breve, which is twice as long. Okay. Each unit after that is half the length of the previous. Okay, so whole note is semi-breve, which is why the breve that's twice as long, is called that. But for our purposes, we'll only be focusing on the whole note. There's the half note, the minim, the quarter note, the crochet, the eighth note, the quaver, the 16th note, the semiquaver, the 32nd note, which is the demi-semiquaver, and the 64th note, the hemi-demi-semiquaver. Let me hit you with that one more time. Hemi-demi-semiquaver. Why are the Europeans like this? Why all of this? Why do you even have crochet in there? There are even shorter notes, such as the 1/28th note, the semi-hemi-demi-semiquaver, but they are absurdly short for most music. Even 30-second notes are uncommon. However, there are rare situations where they are appropriate. One piece with such notes is the Pathetique Sonata by Ludwig van Beethoven. The music may also contain rests in which no note is played or sung. Let me hear more about the Pathetic Sonata. Holy shit! I'm not used to seeing Beethoven with this much hair. Or that long of an eye. Well, no, that's also hair. The thing is, though, that because of the tangent formed by the hair here, it just looks like his eyebrow is kind of popping off on the right side here. I don't know. It feels weird to be seeing youthful Ludwig van Beethoven. Like, I'm used to seeing this guy here. Like, this guy is what I associate normally with Beethoven. This guy looks like my this guy you could find at a this guy you could find at a gay bar. Like, look at him. He has such delicate features. Okay, anyway. Piano Sonata Number 8, commonly known... Okay, so Sonata Number 8, also commonly known as Sonata Pathétique, was written in 1798 when the composer was 27 years old. That's when you looked like when you were 27? Bro, you must have aged like fine wine. It has remained one of his most celebrated compositions. Beethoven dedicated the work to his friend Prince Karl von Lichnowsky. Although commonly thought to be one of the few works to be named by the composer himself, it was actually named Grande Sonate Pathétique, to Beethoven's liking, by the publisher, who was impressed by the sonata's tragic sonorities. Huh. Grave, Adagio Cantabile, and Rondo. What is the name of it? Huh. The Cantabile theme from this movement was used as a theme music for radio's most widely listened to classical musical program, Adventures in Good Music, which aired nationally in the United States and in many other countries from 1970 to 2007. The theme was performed by Karl Haas, the program's host. The second movement is depicted as being performed by Schroeder in the movie A Boy Named Charlie Brown. Additionally, Billy Joel used the theme as the chorus of his 1983 song This Night, as did Louise Tucker in her Midnight Blue from 1982, which was a #1 hit in France. Still, calling your song pathetic is a little bit... Well, I guess artists have been self-depreciating for a long time now, huh? In any case. Okay, notes and rests in order from longest to shortest. This last one here is fucking me up a little. More on durations. A staccato note is separated from the other notes around it. Space is inserted between the notes by shortening the end of the note being played. Some musicians consider it to be short and attached, whereas others suggest that a staccato note have its value. This is more a feature of an articulation style rather than rhythm, but it has rhythmic bearing as playing staccato can often cause musicians to play out of tempo. Staccato is shown by a dot below or above the note. Oh. A very short note is known as appoggiatura or acciaccatura. They are both almost insignificantly short notes known as grace notes for the purpose of expression. The shorter of the two is the acciaccatura. They are shown as shrunken eighth notes with a score through the shorter and the longer having no such flourish. Common uses include on bagpipes as grace notes or on guitar for slides, string bends, or hammer-on or pull-offs. A dotted note is 50% longer than the undotted version, i.e. a dotted half note would take 3 beats, lasting as long as 3/4 notes tied together. A double dotted note is 75% longer than the normal note, i.e. a double dotted staff note would take 3.5 beats. None of this... I'm not sure I understand most of this. Time signatures. Time signatures are the basic description for the field of rhythm. They define how to count the rhythm. That's important. They are also known as the meter. This is why one can listen to a piece and know what time signature it is in. It's like hearing Shakespeare, knowing how many syllables are in the line and what meter it is in. I can guarantee you that very few people listen to the meter in Shakespeare's work, sadly. Me included in that. I still don't know what iambic pentameter is, and I've read the definition for that shit like 10 or so times. Iambic pentameter is beyond me. By far, the most common time signature is 4/4, the next most possibly being the 3/4, commonly associated with the waltz. The time signature is found at the first measure right after the clef and T signatures, right, okay. It is made up of two parts. For all meters, the top number gives the number of notes per measure, and the bottom gives the note type. The bottom number can be 1, the whole note, very rare, 2, the half note, uncommon, 4, quarter note, extremely common, and eighth note, common in modern avant-garde music and much other non-Western music. The top number may also be any other power of 2, but they are rare. The bottom number is in most cases a power of 2, but non-diedatic. Time signatures may be used in special cases, e.g., if a measure contains an incomplete set of triplets. The time signature 4/4 means there are 4 quarter notes in a measure. And 3/4 means there are 3 quarter notes in a measure. The time signature 2/2 is, in a way, the same as 4/4. However, 2/2 has 2 beats per measure, while 4/4 has 4 beats per measure. Beats are usually accented in some way in a song, especially with percussion in popular music. Okay. Usually the thesis is accented while the arsis is unaccented. I thought the opposite of thesis was antithesis. Please, add people who actually know about dialectics, please don't get on my ass for that joke. Okay. Traditionally, the thesis is the downbeat and the arsis is the upbeat. Maybe lead with that. The terms downbeat and upbeat come from the movements the director makes while conducting. Oh. NB, the time signature, is not written as a fraction, but instead of 2 numbers on top of one another, with no line in between. NB, what does NB mean? Non-binary, the time signature is not written as a fraction, but instead as 2 numbers on top of one or the other. I can feel it. I can feel like this is the kind of point where they're starting to lose me a little bit because I haven't experienced the practical aspect of it first. It feels a little bit like that. Okay, so let's step off of rhythm right now. Oh god, Beethoven jump scare. Whatever. Okay, we did the. Where were we actually with the dominant or seventh? Any chord with a major third can have the third replaced by a major fourth or perfect fourth to form a suspended chord. What is the purpose of the suspended chord? Holy shit. Some of this notation is upsetting me, though. As these only apply to the major second and perfect fourth, there is no such thing as, say, a C sus6, which should probably be properly written as G sus4C or C5 add 6 if it has a fifth, or else AMC. What the fuck are you talking about? However, in certain circles, it is thought that replacing the fifth in a triad with a sixth is a type of suspension, e.g. C sus6 will contain C, E, and A, rather like an AM. This is, however, more accurately notated as C6. God. What a mess. In any case, we can start doing the dominant or seventh notes. Okay, and I see. The alterations here aren't actually like... Okay, so if we go dominant ninth, right? It goes 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 9. This one goes 1, 3, 5, 7 flat, 7 flat, 9 flat, or 9 sharp, flat 5, 6. I don't know what these three are supposed to be. But I think I think I'm kind of getting it a little bit. So dominant. So these are just like how to make the dominant ones here into sharps or not. And it seems to be that it's mostly regarding the final note here, whether that's a flat or a sharp. And then the altered is, see, okay, that's, you remove the 5 and then it's just flat flat. I don't know how that's meaningful. If the fifth chord is implied to begin with, I don't see why you would need to remove it to go from dominant flat 9 to altered. Like, we'll probably be able to hear the difference to some extent, but I doubt it's going to be particularly meaningful. I think the next step for me, right, in terms of learning how to do music, is figuring out this rhythm part. Because I feel like at this point I've more or less understood how to play music, but then actually making music is the next step, which is a little bit harder to understand. In any case, let's just keep doing what we were doing earlier and try to put together these dominant notes. Let's see here. For the time being, let's close out this one. That was already the major chords. Hey, if I played all of these at the same time, would you guys be mad at me? I've made that same joke. I went back to look at the VOD for a little bit to go back and take some notes on what I'd learned. I realized that I'd made the joke of, like, if I played this extremely bad sound for you, would you be angry with me? And I've come to the realization that the ability to just, like, make a really bad noise is talking to me like the Green Goblin mask in my stream right now. That's not a bad thing necessarily, but I do need to fucking watch myself. Okay, so we can start with the 7th chord here. Hang on. I'm gonna look something up really quickly, and you guys have to promise to not get mad at me when I try and pull it off. Oh, I can't read these. These are tablatures. Unless... No. Blah, blah, blah. Content. Play this one. Following image. Where to start. What the fuck? Okay, D, A, G sharp, G, F, D. God, they have like a 40-note combo for the to make the melody of the song. Okay, so that is... hang on, can I pull up the... Is this gonna work? Oh, hang on, I think I know why this isn't working. Hang on. What the hell? Okay, so this one works. Why is the virtual mini keyboard not working? Is it that I don't have this one armed? No, I have it armed. Why does it seem to be making that noise? I can't hear anything right now. Is one of these things making noise? Like it says that there's like desktop audio is like up to maximum right now. I don't know how that's coming through for y'all. I turned it off just now. But it says that it's supposed to be making like a lot of noise right now. Yeah, like right there it says that it's making like a ton of noise for some reason. Maybe it's because I've got this many tracks on. Hang on. If I disarm these guys. Hang on. Let me see something real quick. If I unmute this one now. Okay, nice. Okay, so that still works even though I've disarmed it. That's good to know. Okay, so conversely, if I arm this one, now if I do Alt-B, can I... Okay, it seems like no. And like y'all can't hear or something right now, right? I like it's showing me on the desktop audio mixer that there's like a constant low sound. Okay, wait, now I can hear it. Hang on, let me mute this so that we can... You know what? Maybe it's not a good idea to do this for a bit that I wanted to do just really quickly. Or actually, no, wait, hang on. We could probably do this bit. I can still probably pull this bit off. I have faith in the bit. All right. So let's do with D5. Or actually, hang on. Here's what let's do. I'm gonna need you all to trust me a little bit. All right, with what I'm about to do, and. Okay, so that's going to be about... Okay, so I'm going to turn off desktop audio for just a minute while I put this together, and I need you all to trust me that this is going to be funny. Okay, the next one is G sharp. Then G. Oh, that's weird. Then F. Okay, that goes F. Then D again. How does that sound? That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Oh, god damn it. Okay, I think I understand why this is not working. Hang on. D. Okay, so let's try and go one octave deeper, or... This is going to be a good learning opportunity for me, actually. I think, maybe? Screw it. Okay. So to let you in on the bit that I was trying to do, but I have no idea how to do, I was trying to figure out how to play Megalovania on the MIDI piano, but I think the problem is that all the tutorials that were up there were like for how to play it on the actual piano. So they were talking about like the notes with the right hand, the notes on the offhand. I don't know, hang on. Megalovania notes MIDI. Online sequencer. Oh god, what is going on here? Oh, this is for a MIDI file download. Okay, we're not doing that just yet. Galvania MIDI, online sequencer. Okay, hang on. Let me reopen up. Hang on. Let me open up the online sequencer one, and let me also open up the piano letter notes that I was talking about earlier. So if we go back here, right? So the notes at the right hand was what I had up on what I was trying to do first, this one here. But the problem is, I think that I also try to do the ones that are on the left hand, which are down here, and play the following notes one after the other with your left hand. And I can kind of see that now. So you can see that there. So the first two are like DDC, and then the first three up here are DAG. And we go up here, so you can see DD. Oh no, they both have DDs. Huh. Yeah, okay, this looks unwinnable. I'll wait until my power level is higher to fuck with all that. Anyway, we were trying to do the dominant notes, and I've been fucking slacking off because we have just been dicking around for the past hour. So it feels like probably not the last hour. But it definitely feels like we've been messing around for a little while. That shit needs to stop. We need to lock in. I need to run this shit like a Navy ship. Well, that's probably a bit much. But yeah, the dominant seventh. So that's just a normal seventh. Again, I'm not sure why... Oh, wait, hang on. So if I go to Alt-B, right, going back to the MIDI keyboard. I think the reason... Is it because it's not playing? No. Is it because it's not recording? Oh. Interesting, okay. And if we scroll down here, or wait, huh? Oh no, there we go. Okay, yeah, there you can see, it's because for some reason we were like all the way down at C2. So we need to go to like C5 for the center key. And that should let us... do stuff a little bit more properly. Let's try now. That sounds much better. Anyway, let's get back to making the actual note again. Again, we've been kind of fucking around a little bit too much for my liking. In any case, okay, so that's 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Okay, so that's... So 5 is G, 7 is B, right? So then the flat 7 would be A sharp. And the next one is B, same deal, but with a ninth. Okay, so that go. Okay, so this is the 7th, 8th, 9th. So that's the dominant. Dominant 9th. Dominant 11th is same deal, except we also have an 11. It's the dominant is just with the set with the middle with the 7 flat. That's like at the point where you can make something dominant, or I guess Minor? Or no, wait, not minor. Diminished. That's the one that I'm looking for. Diminished. Okay, so that's going to be same deal here, but over here plus an 11th. So that's D, E, F. Weirdly enough, I'm liking these a little bit better than the major 11th and 13th. Okay, 11th, then skip 1. F, G, A. It's still sounding a little bit weird when they all harmonize like that, though. Definitely a case of too many cooks, etc., etc. What about this Lydian one? That one's just the same deal, except that it's got a sharp 11th. Okay, so it goes 7th, 9th, 11th. So we'll copy the 11th. Hang on, my neck's starting to cramp a little bit. Okay, Lydian dominant 7th is 7 flat but 11th sharp. 7th flat. Wait. 7th flat but 11th sharp. And also we remove the 9th. Yeah, for these ones that have like the more out there jumps, it's very difficult to hear them. Also, it says that one of the options is to add the 9th. So if we added that 9th, right? I can kind of hear what they mean about the implied 9th there, because it sounds basically the same with the 9th or without it. I don't know. I'd like to be economical if I can be, but at the same time, you need to be careful of, cutting away so much that you actually leave little substance in there. Okay, then the altered ones. We don't need to worry about the altered ones. So suspended ones I'm kind of interested in. Kind of interested in the suspended ones. So what about... So let's see... Let's see here. So the suspended 4th sounds like 1, 4, 5. So that's actually going to go from E to F just immediately. Let's compare that to the original 1, 3, 5. Okay, so normal. Definitely, I don't know how to describe the difference in feeling. It's definitely higher, which makes sense because one of the notes making up the chord is a little bit higher than 1, 2, 5. I'm guessing that's going to sound lower than the OG. Stop changing the volume on these. It is unnatural. Although I do wish they were a slightly less angry looking color than red. With these ones, it feels like the notes are a little bit mad at me. And I know that that's not, like, ontologically possible. Ontological is probably not the right word to use in this case. But it still doesn't feel particularly nice. Yeah, as I thought, that one just sounds lower than the original one, but it still sounds kind of in the same register. Okay, so that's a suspended fourth and suspended second. What's the suspended fourth? Suspended fourth seventh look like? 7 sus 4. I fucking hate these. Honestly, I'm a little tired of the naming conventions of this whole deal. Like, I understand, right? Like, it makes sense that they need, like, those detailed names because there's so many different combinations that you need to have, specifically, maybe esoteric even names for all of these. But it's just a little bit much. Just a tiny bit much. Okay, 1, 4, 5, 7. So that's going to be suspended fourth 7. So that's going to be this bad boy right here. But then the 7 is flat. I swear to God, I've seen that before. Okay, wait, no, that is why. So it's the so it's dominant 7th, but it's with the 4 up. It's with the 4 instead of the 3. And yeah, that is the 7th flat because it goes G, A, and then it would normally be B for the 7th, but this time it was the flat. Okay, 7th, 4, 7. Then there's the 11, which is 1, 7, 11. 1, 7 flat 11. So that's C5 again. That's 1, 4, 5. We're actually looking for 7 flat. And then the 11th, which is... Will you grab this here? Can I just... Yeah, there you go. Okay, so this is the normal 7th. Then the 11th would be... Normal 7th. 8th. 9th. 10th. 11th. How's that sound? The weird thing is that it's got mostly the same components as this one here, but because we've left out the implied notes, it sounds much less dissonant. It sounds much clearer. The 11th special voicing. Okay, cool. So that's 1, 4, 7, 11. The 4th is this one, right? Yeah, it is. Interesting. So the 4th doesn't actually seem to change the tone of it too much, but it does increase the resonance of it because of the fact that it's got more notes. That's nice. Okay, then the suspended 4th 9 flat is kind of ridiculous, but okay. I don't know. I think from now on, I'm going to just try and leave out the implied notes because I feel like that's going to make. I feel like that just sounds much more refreshing than having the notes play together. Maybe it'll be different if I was using a proper virtual instrument or something. But we've only got the synthesizer of the. What was it called again? The Kayakum, which is so that's we're much more limited in terms of our options. Can we hang on? Take markers. Delete tick marker at cursor. Oh, here we go. Take markers. Explode all takes to new tracks. Explode? What do you mean explode? Hang on. Let's switch the active take to 2, and then when we go to this one, we can delete the active take, and that should... Yeah, there we go. That seems to fix it up pretty good. I like that. I'm a fan of this outcome. But yeah, 1/4 9th flat. 1/4, and then the flat 9th. So we already have a 9th back from the second one, I think, the dominant 9th. But in this case, we want that to be flat. So that's going to be... That one's not quite as harmonic as the other ones, but that's considering that we're not actually including the implied 5th that you can see here. Still cool though. Okay, we got the minor chords, we got the diminished chords. We got some others, which are the 5th, which is 1/5, no 3rd. Augmented 7th. We don't need to really worry about those, I don't think. Those feel pretty esoteric. It's worth mentioning that you might hear some individuals, usually rock guitarists, called 5th chords power chords. 7th chords can be extended to 9th, 11th, and 13th chords. Yep. If you have a dominant 7th, then the corresponding chords would be C9, C11, and C13. The C9 is a C7 without a major 9th added. With a major 9th added. Yeah, okay. You can have a minor 13th, so that's 1, 3, 5, 7, with the 7 and 3 being flat. The C13 with a C7 is a major 13th added as well as the major 11th and major 9th added. What? Same principles that can be applied to 7th chords apply to minor and major 7th chords. So, okay, so if we go back to the minor 7th, right, that makes sense that it's, okay, so it's 1, 3 minor, 7 minor, but then if we go to the 13th minor, yeah, in that case, it's just, it doesn't have, okay, so in that case, it's just increasing the resonance, or I guess like increasing the dissonance, actually? Yeah, I guess it would be increasing the dissonance. It is very uncommon to extend a major 7th chord with an 11th. This is because there would be an interval of a minor 9th between the 3rd and the 11th. If an 11th is played, it is usually altered. This is well dealt with below. Okay, I think I get the gist of it. Broadly speaking, whenever we start on a note, we can make the corresponding chord for that note by just mucking around with the order in which we do these. And having different ones, or actually even removing the Jenga blocks here, will also change our feeling of those notes. I can understand that. Okay, then I guess the next step would be figuring out how to do timing with these ones. So if we go to this one, it is automatically a 4/4 timing, which is good to know. You know, designated here. I still kind of want to at some point figure out this Excel sheet thing, but at the same time, now that there's a lot more chords in here, this is looking much scarier. So I think I'm actually gonna not fuck with that too much. Well, this one that still actually has the chord notation. It just doesn't have the piano light up whenever you're on a certain one. I don't know. That's kind of handy to me to have the. I'm guessing this is like the 88th key or some shit. But I guess it's handier for me to just like visualize it from there. But yeah, I'm gonna try and figure out what we need to learn for next time, and that way we can try to actually like make something. Because I feel like now that I understand that how like chord behavior works, now I can try and do that rather than just kind of like blindly just put, try to make like an ASCII cat or something in here. I mean, from a distance, this kind of does look like an ASCII cat. Well, more like an ASCII sphinx. But yeah, I'm gonna end it here for today. Y'all have a good rest of your evenings. I will be putting up the schedule of the art we made today, and I will see you all later. Bye.